Hi, Dinesh.
Hey,
How are you tonight?
Hey.
Hi, Maria. He's usually on Zoom, so he surprised me tonight. And I was like, oh, you're here. Hey, Paul. Hi, Jonathan.
Hello.
You have a beautiful kitty cat.
I will tell her you said that.
Linda,
Yeah. Hey, Paul. What's up?
do you have a second?
Yeah, but everyone in the Gampa can hear you. You're on speakers.
Well, it's
Yeah.
okay because it's about Mariella. She's got a really bad eye infection. And so
Oh,
she
no.
asked if you would all think of her and maybe say a prayer to Medicine Buddha.
Mm-hmm.
That's all.
Okay. Absolutely. We can think that when we're reciting prayers tonight, especially the dedication. Hi, Heen. How are you? So good to see you. Thank you so much for the treats. Oh my goodness. You are so incredibly sweet. Thank you. Thank you.
Testing, okay, good. Let's see. You want to go ahead and start? Do you have any announcements, Linda?
I don't think so. The only thing that is coming up on July 2nd is we will be celebrating here in the Gampa on that, it's a Sunday, His Holiness's birthday. So it'll be like a big birthday party. So that's in place of the normal Sunday Dharma teaching. So it should be a lot of fun. We'll have a procession where we bring in a big picture of His Holiness and place it up on the throne. And we'll have birthday cake and some Tibetan food and singing and dancing. So it's like a birthday party. I mean, it is a birthday party. His Holiness's birthday is actually on July 6th, but we'll be celebrating that Sunday before. So mark your calendars.
Okay, thank you. Let me get my stuff organized, and then we'll take off here. Okay, so welcome everyone. This is the second of 4 classes in the Discovering Buddhism module on the spiritual teacher. or the spiritual guide, the spiritual mentor, the spiritual friend. These are all terms that are used interchangeably. Last week we talked a little bit about what these terms meant, and I hope we demystified this whole subject of the teacher or the guru or the lama, which is an important part of Tibetan Buddhism, without a doubt. But we have there's a lot of baggage that can sometimes come with it, and I hope we can separate the importance of the subject from the baggage as we progress over the next couple weeks. I'd like to start with some prayers in the Gold Prayer Book. You can find those in front of you. Let's see. This class is, I'm not going to have a chance to go into a detailed explanation of all the prayers, but question that frequently comes up is if we're a good card-carrying Buddhist and we embrace this non-theistic vision of the universe, who are we praying to? And if you read through these prayers, as we read through them carefully, they're really not praying to anyone in particular. They're really aspirations or wishes that we're planning in our own mind stream. So the wishes, we say the prayers for the effect that they have on our mind and our consciousness. So we'll start with the taking refuge in bodhicitta 3 times in English, then the 4 immeasurables, 7-limb prayer, and then the mandala offering, all in English, and then we'll do our first meditation session after that. The prayers are to help prepare our mind for the meditation that's to follow. Most of us have had a busy day. There's a lot of buzz going on, a lot of distractions in our mind. And this is to begin to help us set those aside, become more focused, get in touch with our motivation so that our meditation and discussion that follow will be as beneficial as possible. So we'll start with taking refuge and generating bodhicitta.
It's page 34.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not if I didn't give the page number, if you're here in the Kadampa, page 34 in the Gold Prayer Book. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my practice of giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my practice of giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my practice of giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. And now we'll do the 4 immeasurables, which are 4 immeasurably great wishes or aspirations. And we'll read each one and pause for a second after and think about what that means. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. And one of the key words there is all. Not just the people we like, not just our relatives, but all living beings. May they all have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the happiness that is free from suffering. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment for friends and hatred for enemies. Now we'll read the 7-limb prayer. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind. I present clouds of every type of offering, actual and imagined. I declare all my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in the merit of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until the end of cyclic existence, and turn the wheel of Dharma for living beings. I dedicate my own merits and those of all others to the great enlightenment. And in the 5th and 6th limbs of that prayer, please remain until the end of cyclic existence and turn the wheel of Dharma for living beings. We're specifically making a request of all the teachers that we come into contact with, for them to continue to teach. So that's relevant to this module. And now we'll do the mandala offering. This ground, anointed with perfume, strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, 4 continents, the sun and the moon. I imagine this as a Buddha field and offer it. May all living beings enjoy this pure land. Idam Guru Ratnam Mandala Kamnirya Tayami. Okay, so now we've helped prepare our mind, started to prepare our mind. It said like we're tilling the field before we cast our seeds of the meditation on our mental consciousness. We've made it a little more ready to receive the positive imprints. So we'll do our first meditation session. And there's a routine that we become familiar with. We start by checking our posture. If we're sitting on a chair, we're not leaning back in the chair, or we're sitting straight. If we're on a cushion, we're towards the front third of a cushion, so our pelvis is opened up. We're not sitting smack in the middle of the cushion. Our back is a little bit straighter than we normally sit, but not tight or rigid. Our head is straight on our shoulders, not leaning to one side or the other. Our eyes are either just lightly closed, not clenched, or very slightly open, whichever is more comfortable for you. Again, our mouth is lightly closed, not clenched. Our tongue on the roof of our mouth, behind our upper teeth. Our shoulders are down, a little bit back, so our chest opens up. Our upper arms slightly away from the sides of our torso. And our right hand is on our left, symbolizing the union of wisdom and compassion that is enlightenment, with our thumbs touching slightly below the level of our navel. If we're sitting in a chair, our feet are flat on the floor or on a cushion if we find that helpful. If we're sitting on a cushion, our legs are open and crossed in a position that we find comfortable and stable. So take a moment, scan your posture, starting from the top of your head and working down to the bottom of your feet. Identify any places of tension or discomfort and address those now so they don't become a recurring theme or even the subject of the meditation that's to follow. You can sit and meditate on how much my knee hurts, but that's not, really making a positive imprint on your mind stream. So address that now so you can set that object aside. And having established our posture, now take 3 deep breaths from the abdomen, the stomach expanding on the in-breath and contracting towards the spine on the out-breath, slowly and deeply, and just do that 3 times. And now we allow our breathing to return to its normal pattern. And we begin the meditation by setting our motivation, following up on what we're thinking about during the prayers. And even if it doesn't come naturally or easily, we try and generate the bodhicitta motivation, the great mind motivation, the wish to become enlightened, to completely develop my mind's qualities of wisdom and compassion for the benefit of all sentient beings. I want to become enlightened to benefit others. And that's why I'm doing this meditation. And that's why I'm here tonight. So that probably doesn't come easily, but just thinking about that way is beneficial. And having set our motivation, we now begin the actual meditation. And again, we'll just be doing a simple, but not necessarily easy, concentration meditation, making a little step in developing our mind's ability to concentrate. So we take the mind, our awareness, and we place it on the breath. The physical sensation of breath moving in and out through our nostrils. Nothing more than that. Mind on the breath. Not describing it, not visualizing it, not even counting it, but direct perception of mind on the breath. And we just stay with that very simple, non-judgmental, perception. And every time we notice our mind has wandered off to another object, we set that one aside and come back to the breath. And now we can end our meditation with a brief dedication. We can give ourselves a little pat on the back. We can acknowledge that we've done something a little bit out of the ordinary, something that, though simple, by developing our ability to concentrate, has made a positive imprint on our mind stream. And may we think, may that imprint not be lost, but may it ripen in the future in a way that benefits all sentient beings. And you may relax your concentration. Anyone have any questions or comments about that meditation or the prayers or anything I mentioned so far? Okay, so the subject of this module is the spiritual teacher. Like I said, we use the word teacher or mentor or friend in this situation. And the two other words are lama or guru, and those simply mean teacher. There's nothing more to them than that. They're not official titles. They're typically honorifics that are given to individuals by their students. And we talked a little bit last time about the different type of teachers we may come across in our spiritual journey that we find ourselves on, and I'll just review those briefly in this outline that I'm using. First type of teacher is just an academic teacher, like a professor, who just teaches us basic facts about Buddhism or some other subject without necessarily having a spiritual aspect to it. This is like taking an introduction to Buddhism class in college or a comparative religion classes. Then the next level of teacher we may come across is a Dharma instructor. Maybe I'm at the very low end of that. Someone like Don Hendrick, who's one of our visiting teachers, is much more qualified. This is someone who has an actual personal experience of some of the teachings of the Buddha. So they're teaching not just the academic material, but giving some of the spiritual aspect. Does anybody remember what the word Dharma means? We use it to refer to the teachings of the Buddha, but what's the actual technical definition of the word? That which separates us from suffering. Anything that separates us from suffering is considered Dharma. So particularly the teachings of the Buddha are considered to be Dharma. Next type of teacher we may encounter is a meditation teacher. There are great meditation teachers, much better than I am, who instruct in various types of meditation and may or may not have an understanding of the Dharma. The two don't necessarily go together, they frequently do. But we have meditation teachers, and we also have teachers who specialize in teaching certain rituals. And Geshe Sampo, who's one of our resident teachers here, in addition to his other qualifications, is a highly qualified ritual teacher. You see Geshe Geluk frequently defer to him on questions of rituals, various prayer services or pujas that we do here, or special meditations. Geshe Sampo is the expert around here on those. He completed a significant course of study at Sarajay Monastery in southern India in what's called Tantric College, which is basically learning these rituals and these prayer services and how to set up the altars that you'll see on special days. Then we may encounter a spiritual mentor. This is a higher level of a relationship, someone who can speak to us personally about spiritual questions. So more than just a Dharma teacher, more than just a meditation instructor. Then we have the preceptors that we take vows from. Talked about the 3 levels of vows. They're the refuge vows, the bodhisattva vows, and then the tantric vows. And anytime we take those vows, the person we're taking them from, we create a very special and you could almost say, what's the word? Indissoluble link with that person. So we should not just take these vows willy-nilly from anyone who's passing through. We should look at the person who's giving them. And then there's the tantric masters. This is the teacher who gives the tantric initiation, which is a very specialized type of meditation that you can take only from someone who has received it in an unbroken lineage, going back to the Buddha. These meditations are taken from tantric masters, and they're only certain people who are qualified to give those initiations. We recently had the good fortune to have Geshe Gelek's teacher, Kensho Rinpoche, come, and he gave 4 tantric initiations that he was the lineage holder for, so to speak. So if you took one of those initiations with him, he is considered one of your tantric masters. He may not be your spiritual mentor, he may not be the closest teacher that you have a relationship, but you have established a very important relationship with him by taking those initiations from him. And then we have they talk about the Mahayana masters, the ones who introduce us to the Mahayana path, which is the wish to become enlightened for all sentient beings. And then we have this term of a root guru, or our heart guru. And this is the one teacher that we have the deepest connection, the most personal connection. And this is not something that we're going to find the first time we come here to Kadampa Center or go to a teaching. Finding a root guru is something that may take years and years and years. It may happen very quickly, but for many people it takes a long time. And we'll be exposed to all sorts of teachers as we progress along our spiritual path, and we'll have many teachers. But typically, most people eventually find a root guru. But we do have various teachers along the path. And it's even said that these teachers at all these levels are more important to us than the historical Buddha, and that they are our personal connection with what the Buddha taught 2,500 years ago. And if we didn't have these teachers in our life now, the teachings of the Buddha would essentially just be words in a book. Okay, it said even that whoever teaches us the alphabet and how to read is incredibly important to it. So it's not just our spiritual teachers, but all the teachers that we come across in our lifetime. But in this module, we're talking specifically about our spiritual teachers. If I have any questions or comments, yeah, okay, wait for the mic if you're in the room, and then if you're on Zoom, we'll turn you on.
Could you tell me where a venerable comes in?
Where what?
I've seen the title venerable.
Oh, the title venerable.
Yeah.
We refer to lots of people as venerables. We taught that a venerable is generally someone who has taken monastic vows. Again, that's a term for, we have several Kadampa Center members who have taken the vows of nuns. You'll see them here at the center. We have one member who's gone off to France to take the male vows, okay? And when they take those vows, there are a lot of them, and some of them you don't know what they are until you take them, you're referred to as venerable, okay? So we use that term as a gesture of respect for the commitment they've made, but it doesn't imply that they're a teacher necessarily, okay? Becoming a monk or a nun, taking those vows taking those vows doesn't mean you're going to become a teacher. So we refer to the nuns as venerable, but we don't refer to them as lama or guru, okay? Geshe Gelik is technically a venerable, but he's gone far beyond that. He's not only taken the monastic vows, but he's taken the entire academic course, which gives him the Geshe degree, which is awarded based on exams and debate and so on. So it's an actual degree that's awarded. Okay? Any other questions or comments? Yeah.
A quick one. Can you speak a little bit to what happens when your root guru or another very important teacher takes the aspect of passing away?
Oh boy, this is where I fall back on the escape hatch, which is that's a good question for a Geshe. Okay, that's a relevant question in that Lama Zopa Rinpoche, whose picture is to the right of the statue of Atisha, who is the spiritual director of the FPMT, the worldwide organization that we're part of, and I think would be considered the root guru for some, if not a lot of people who come to Kadampa Center, just died recently. So not only is the organization in a state of flux in that the board of directors is dealing with this big change, but his students are having to deal with a change in their reality or what's their relationship with the teacher. I don't know if I'm really qualified to say much about it in that, except that I'll say personally, I feel just as strongly connected to him as I did when he was alive, okay? I still look to him for inspiration and guidance, even though he's dead. I spent enough time around him, went to enough teachings to get a very strong sense of what he would recommend in a lot of situations. So I really can't say a lot more about it. Did you have any thoughts on that?
No, it's something that I've wondered because I know Lama Yeshe was also,
He's to the picture. He's to the left of the Atisha statue. He was the founder of this organization, and he died back in the 80s.
And so, prior to Lama Zopa's passing, I always kind of wondered, well, what happens, if that's your, and now, it's, now a lot of us are in the same boat.
Exactly,
that students of Lama Yeshe were.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you meet a lot of people in the FPMT who still consider Lama Yeshe their root guru, even though he's been dead for almost 40 years now. So I don't know. That's a good question. Save it up and ask it for Venerable Rabina or someone else when they come here. That's an excellent, good question. Any other comments or questions? Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit in the time that's remaining to us about what the Buddha said we should look for in a teacher. Okay, what qualities we should look for in someone that we want to have a teacher-student relationship with the understanding that this relationship may be very informal, all the way up to the relationship of a root guru with the student who is, at that point, is frequently referred to as a disciple. Okay, those of us who come in here on Sunday morning and we sit in here, we don't necessarily consider ourselves disciples, but it can get to that closer relationship. And one point I want to make is, just because you come to Kadampa Center doesn't mean you have an obligation to see Geshe Gelik or Geshe Sampo as significant teachers, okay? They're here because Lama Zopa sent them here, and they're wonderful teachers, but that doesn't mean they're going to be a teacher for you, okay? There are resident teachers here, and you should treat them with respect and listen with an open mind, but just because they're here in Raleigh, North Carolina, doesn't mean they're necessarily the right teacher for you. Okay, so Just accept that there's no obligation to see a resident teacher anywhere you go as one of your teachers. But most people will, who spend time with them, see them as wonderful teachers. So what are some of the qualities we look for in a teacher? The Buddha said he gave 7 significant ones to look for. The first one is ethical discipline. Sum up Buddhist ethics in one phrase. Can anybody do that? What's Buddhist ethics? What's it boil down to? Anyone want to take a stab at that? That's a little higher. Buddhist ethics is basically good. Yeah, you're a little more advanced, but Buddhist ethics basically comes down to not hurting others. Okay, whereas Venerable Rabina, one of our visiting teachers, in her inimitable manner refers to it as zip your lips and keep your hands to yourself. Okay, this means not hurting others by our actions. Okay, actions of our body, by our speech, and even with our thoughts at a more advanced level. But basically, it's our body and our speech, okay? So a quality to look for in a teacher is ethical discipline. They try at least not to hurt others by their actions. Okay, that's the first quality we can look for in a teacher. Second level is a good level of concentration. Okay, doesn't mean concentration is you'll frequently hear it referred to as one of the perfections, which is there's 6 perfections that we achieve on our way to enlightenment, which means complete mastery of it. So a teacher hasn't necessarily achieved the perfection of concentration, but they have a significant ability to concentrate. And this is something you pick up by being around them, listening to them talk, observing their behavior. Okay. The third is referred to as pacification to a large extent of their disturbing emotions. Okay, the disturbing emotions are anger, attachment, covetousness, impatience, those things that disturb our mind, that keep our mind from being calm. Okay, again, a teacher, it doesn't mean they've perfected this or are a master of it, but you see some evidence of calming of the mind in the person who's a teacher. Okay, the fourth is great enthusiasm and actual joy in teaching. They enjoy it. They don't give the impression of this is something they have to do because someone told them to, but they enjoy teaching. And there are many people who are very highly realized and are powerful meditators and have a great understanding of the Dharma who are very clear that they are not teachers right now, okay? And they are not drawn to teaching, and they understand that. And these are people who may go off and do retreat after retreat after retreat, which is incredibly valuable because they're pacifying their own mind. But they understand that they don't have the karma necessarily to be teachers right now, and they know if they do, it would not come across as a joyful endeavor. But if you're looking for a teacher, you want someone who seems to enjoy it. Okay? Fourth one, very obvious, the teacher should know more than you do. You wouldn't go to someone to teach you something who knows less about the subject than you do, except in a very rare instance that, and this is where sometimes these meditation or ritual teachers come in. They may know less Dharma than you, but they have a greater understanding of meditation or ritual. So on a particular subject or particular area, they know more than you do. They have the motivation or the wish to help others. And they do this through compassion, as you mentioned, okay? Compassion is the wish that others be free of suffering. And teaching is one way to help others with that. Okay, so they have a strong wish to help others. And the last quality is honesty and lack of hypocrisy in they do not claim to have spiritual attainments that they don't have, okay, or have qualities that they don't have. They're honest about where they are on their own path. There's no inflation of their own qualities or their own achievements. Okay? So let me just run through these again. First is ethical discipline. Okay? And that really is what makes you feel safe around a teacher. If that's absent, you're not going to feel safe and you're going to get some weird vibes most commonly. Ethical discipline, some degree of concentration, some degree of calming or pacifying the disturbing mind states, enthusiasm for teaching, knowledge, more knowledge than the student, the wish to help others, and a lack of hypocrisy or a degree of honesty. So it's 7. I said 6, excuse me, there's 7. That's 7 fingers, right? Okay. So, I mean, someone who met all of those would be, they're rare and far between and few. So our standard, this is the ideal, okay? We may not see all of those in someone who we accept as a teacher at some level, but this is a general guideline, okay? These are qualities to look for when you think about seeing someone as a teacher. You know, I think there are a couple others that the Buddha didn't teach that I typically put in. One, you look at who their teachers were. Personally, I'm very distrustful of someone who would claim not to have any teachers, so they came up with it all on their own. And that's what I find very reassuring about being part of the FPMT, this organization, which is 170 centers around the world, in that it's very clear who the teachers are, who the teachers of the teachers were, who the teachers of the teachers of the teachers were, all the way back. And you can check the lineage on anyone whom, the FPMT doesn't accept everyone as every Tibetan Buddhist monk as a teacher who can go around to FPMT centers. They have to have come from valid teachers. And so there's a lineage on everyone that the FPMT sends out, both Geshe Gelik and Veshe Sampo, and then the visiting teachers. They've all been vetted to a certain degree, and that's very reassuring. This is not a fly-by-night organization. It was guided by His Holiness, or by Lama Zopa Rinpoche. Now that he's died, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, who's always been very close to the FPMT, is involved in the direction that this organization will take. So I personally find that very reassuring. It's not someone making something up on their own, that there is some validity and some sort of structure. And if the teachers don't adhere to the certain standards, there are guidelines that are enforced. So that's one thing I personally look at, is who are the teachers of the teacher. And then the other thing you can look at is who are the students of the teachers. Not that they're going to be perfect images or mirror images or little clones of the teacher, but you look to see that the teacher is having a positive effect on their life in some ways. I mean, they're human beings. They have their own issues and everything. But, if you walk in the door at Kadampa Center and everybody's drinking and carousing and everything, you might wonder, what's being taught here if this is what the students are practicing? Not that any of us are holy or anything, but at least, I think you talk to people here, you get a sense that coming here has made a positive impact on their mind stream. So I think looking at the students is helpful. That's not the ultimate standard that you evaluate a teacher by, but it is helpful when you're looking at a teacher to look at the quality of their students. Any other things that people can think of how you would evaluate a teacher? I mean, it's said you should take 7 years if you want to form a close relationship with a teacher. Can anybody think of anything else you may want to look for? Or qualities that you've seen in good teachers that you've had in your lifetime that you would look for in other teachers? Personally, I like a sense of humor also, but that's not required certainly in some of these Tibetan teachers. Lama Yeshe, to the one to the left who's smiling, he would get up and he would clown around and joke and laugh. I had the good fortune to get some teachings from him. It just charmed the bees out of the trees. But the students who had a one-on-one relationship with him, who would meet with him in private, he was so fierce on them. I mean, and as someone said, he was one heavy Lama. So, there can be humor in certain situations, but there can be fierceness also. And he really called people, out on what they needed to do. And he would have them in tears at times. But it's what's appropriate in each situation. Yeah. But I like a sense of humor. And, we see that in Geshe Gelik, Geshe Sampo. Lama Zopa is always laughing, His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So I find that personally appealing, and I think it draws students towards them. Okay, I think they use that to attract students. Anything else? Yeah, Chris.
Would you mention enthusiasm? Would that be about the subject, or would that be about teaching you?
I mean, it's said to be for the actual act of teaching, okay? Taking joy in teaching. So I would assume,
It would have to be about the subject.
yeah, you shouldn't be teaching something that you don't enjoy teaching, I would think, yeah. Yeah, so, but you have to actually enjoy, a teacher would actually enjoy imparting their knowledge to others. They take joy in that action.
I think I heard, I may be wrong, but that some teachers, maybe it's part of the teaching, they manifest that they don't want to teach you. You have to really beg them.
Yeah, yeah, but that's done more to make sure that the students are prepared for that subject. It's not that they don't want to teach it, but they don't want to teach it to someone who's not really interested. Yeah, sometimes, you have to request a teacher. Yeah, it's very frequently, if you want a teaching on a specific subject, some aspect of the Lamrim, and you go to someone who's the great master of that and is considered to hold the lineage on that, and you request teachings on that. They may say no the first time, yeah. And you may come back again, and they may say no. And you may have to request several times till they think you're ready. This is based on the idea that they have some understanding of where you are on your spiritual path. And, they're not going... A teacher is not going to give a teaching that he thinks is inappropriate to the students. That's not in the qualifications. But yeah, they're very clear on that if they don't think you should have this teaching, they're not going to give it to you. This is talking about specific, maybe tantric or high meditation techniques. Yeah. Okay, so let's do one more meditation. I ran my mouth a little bit more than I planned, so we'll just establish our meditation posture. I think you're familiar with it now. Couple deep breaths from the abdomen. Set your motivation. Now, just a minute or two of concentration meditation, as we did earlier, with the mind on the breath. And now we're going to do what we just call a review meditation, which probably seems a lot like thinking, and that's fine, but it means thinking in a very deep and concentrated way about the material that we've just covered. So I'm just going to read out each of the qualities, and using this concentrated mind, just think about what that quality is. And maybe bring to mind teachers you've known with that quality. The first is ethical discipline, not harming others with actions or speech. The next quality is the ability to concentrate. The next quality we look for is a pacification of the disturbing mind states. Next, enthusiasm for teaching. Next, more knowledge and experience of the subject than we have ourselves. A sincere wish to help the students. And finally, a lack of hypocrisy about spiritual attainments and qualities. So it's very rare to meet a teacher who has all those qualities, but those are good guidelines to help us as we progress along our spiritual path. And we'll meet a lot of possible teachers And we need to bring our own wisdom to the situation. And as you stay in meditative concentration, I'd like to read again that passage from Lama Yeshe that I read last week. So just pay attention to this. The main reason that religion in both the East and the West has degenerated so much nowadays is the rarity of meeting good spiritual examples. If people never meet highly realized beings, they have no way of knowing the limitless possibilities of their own human consciousness. It is not enough that there are texts recording the deeds and accomplishments of past masters. By themselves, such stories cannot inspire us very much. In fact, they may only increase our feeling of remoteness. Buddha and Jesus lived such a long time ago, we may think, and their purity belongs to another age. It is impossible for someone like myself living in this degenerate 21st century to attain anything resembling their level of purity. The only way we can lay to rest these feelings of doubt, incapability, and cynicism is by coming face to face with someone who has activated their highest potential. Only then do we have an example of purity and spiritual evolution we can actually see and relate to ourselves. Thus, the outer guru, and by outer guru he's referring to the teachers, as opposed to the inner guru, which is our own realization of the teachings. Thus, the outer guru is of utmost importance. We need the example of someone who, while human like ourselves, has developed beyond the bounds of what we presently think possible. When we see someone who has reached beyond selfishness, who has transcended the petty concerns of this world while still living in the world, who speaks and acts from intuitive wisdom, and who is truly dedicated to the welfare of others, then we can have faith and conviction that these attainments are possible for ourselves as well. Okay, so this coming week, I'd like you to sit and meditate for 10 minutes a day for at least 6 days. Do a little bit of concentration meditation, and then do a meditation on the ideal qualities of a teacher. See if you agree with them, or if you disagree, or if you've experienced them in your life or not. And continue with the readings. If you don't know how to get those, Linda can explain that. Don't expect them to parallel exactly what I've been teaching. And then we'll be here next week. Next week, we'll talk about the ideal qualities of the student. Okay, so we've talked about the qualities of the teacher. Now we'll talk about the ideal qualities that the student brings to that relationship. That'll be our third class. So thank you, everyone. Good seeing you all.
Do you want to do?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Linda. Bye.
Y'all have a great night, good week. So if there is anyone new who wants to see how to get to the readings, I'm happy to stay and show you. Good night, Paul.